Right now, we're going to learn the Dvar Malchut of the Rebbe that we began yesterday. Here we go. Dvar Malchut. Dvar Malchut. There it is. Yesterday, for anybody who's interested, I forgot to record. I gave this class, and I forgot to record it. And I realized after I gave the class that I'd forgotten to record it, which happens once in a while, and it's very frustrating. I have to admit that I sort of, how do you want to say, become a little bit more mature each time I do it, because I realize that my frustration and my rantings don't help. Oh, I forgot to. I don't believe I forgot to record. I'm a failure. I'm a loser. Anyway, I realized that all this, how do you say, shock and the things, it doesn't help anyway. So I decided not to be shocked, but I was tremendously disappointed. Okay, so what are we learning about here? We're learning that every sentence in the Torah comes to tell us something about Mashiach, and everything in the world comes to tell us something about Mashiach. Mashiach is going to be a person that's going to wake up all the Jews to return to do all the commandments according to the teachings of the rabbis, the Torah. And eventually, when the Jews all do that, they all return to the commandments, and they do the commandments the way that God wants. Then there's going to be big changes in the world. Big changes in the world. So that's hinted at in this week's Torah portion. That's Mashiach. That's hinted at in this week's Torah portion. And this week's Torah portion, it's a double Torah portion, is Tazria and Metzora. Tazria, Metzora. Tazria means when a woman gives seed and gives birth. Good thing. That's the first portion we read. The second portion, it's a double portion. Sometimes it's read in two separate weeks, but this year it's written together. And Metzora is a very bad thing. Metzora is this type of spiritual leprosy, which is not really leprosy, but nevertheless, it's not a physical disease. It doesn't come from germs or viruses or something like that. It's totally spiritual disease. It's a discoloration of the skin, but it shows on a tremendously deep impurity. That's Metzora. So the name of the first portion we read is very good, giving birth. And the name of the second portion we read, Metzora, is very bad. But if we look at the content of these two Torah portions we read, the first one, which has the wonderful name of Tazria, giving birth, the content of it is only talking about the disease, Metzora, strangely. And the second portion that we read, which is called a bad name, its content is good. It talks about how the Metzora becomes healed. So the first Torah portion we read has a good name, but a bad content. And the second portion that we read has a bad name, Metzora, and a good content, how the Metzora becomes cured. Not only that, strangely, the Moshiach is called a Metzora. The Moshiach was going to be the best person ever to live in the history of the world, and he's going to bring all mankind to their senses. He is called a Metzora. He's called a Metzora. Why is he called a Metzora? He's called a Metzora because in the time of exile, he suffers. Mashiach suffers. He says, but he's supposed to be the doctor. Mashiach is supposed to be the doctor that fixes up all the world. If the doctor is sick, so how is he going to cure the whole world? Why is the Mashiach called a Metzora? He's supposed to be the only healthy one, the Mashiach. But he's called he's called a Metzora. He's called a Leper. Moshiach. It's called a leper. So why? Why is all that? That's what we read yesterday. Okay. Tell it. Yuvan, so we can understand. Okay, so we said, similar to Mashiach, since Mashiach is going to come and redeem all the Jewish people, why we stress that his name is called, that he's called a leper. A leper is the one who's going to save us with. Yuvan Behektam, we can understand this. First of all, the general topic of this Negayim, of the spiritual leprosy. I don't like to call it leprosy, but there's no other name to it. That's what they always call it. There's no other name for it. What was it? It was a discoloration of the skin, which indicated a very deep type of impurity, which was equal to the impurity of death. And according to Judaism, there's these different levels of impurity. And it really only relates to the temple and holy things in the temple. A person, for instance, that touches a dead body, is that person can never go to the holy temple for the rest of his life. If you touch a dead body, or if you're in the near to a dead body, you can't. If you have the impurity of death, that person never in the rest of his life can go to the holy temple. That's it. He's finished. Unless there is sprinkled on him the ashes of the red cow. Right? There's a whole process how it's done. But that's the worst type of impurity. Then there's lesser type of impurities. So the person only has to go to the mikveh, only so this, but there's different types. The impurity of a leper, of a matzorah, is the worst type. It's like a dead body. Worst type of impurity. And Mashiach is called a matzorah. He's called the worst type of impurity. How can Mashiach? Mashiach is supposed to bring all the Jews back to doing Torah and the commandments. Mashiach is going to do away with death. When the Jewish people all do Torah and commandments, it says that death will cease from the world. Like it was, Adam was supposed to live forever. When the Torah was given, the death ceased in the world. Death ceased. If the Jewish people wouldn't have sinned with the golden calf, there would be no more death. No one would go to heaven. There wouldn't be any heaven. Heaven would be empty. No one would want it. Who wants to go to heaven? This world would be infinitely higher, like we just finished learning. Infinitely higher. So why is Mashiach called the Matzorah? Okay, so this whole conundrum that we just talked about, how the first Torah portion that we read has a good name but a bad content, and the second one has a bad name but a good content, and Mashiach has called himself a bad thing, it's called a bad name. What's this got to do with Mashiach? What's it come to teach us? Okay. So the Rebbe is going to tell us the reason we don't understand this is because we basically don't really understand anything. And we're looking at the world in a totally improper way. Let's see. Yuvan, we can understand, first of all, by explaining what is this idea of the Negayim, of this Mitzorah, the spiritual leprosy. So it says, Adam ki yiyeh be'or b'saro. It says, it's in the first portion we read this Shabbat. A man, when he has in the skin on his flesh a discoloration, Adam. That's how it says. Adam, a man, when he has, it's also a woman also, but it's called Adam. Why Adam? Because there's 4 different terms for man in the Torah. There's Adam, there's Enosh, there's Ish, and there's Geber. 4 different names. And this refers to 4 different levels of I want to call it of humanity that man can reach. Adam is the highest. Adam is a person that realizes what God is, and he acts accordingly. That's Adam. Enosh is the opposite. Enosh is very weak. He's a person that doesn't realize anything about God, and he acts accordingly. He acts as though there's no God. And in the middle is what's called Gever and Ish. two different levels of partially realizing what God is and partially controlling yourself. So, but Adam, when it talks about this thing of Mitzora, it says Adam, man, uses the highest term of man. It's explained in the Kuti Torah that Adam is the highest level of man, the it's like the completion of man. He has a complete awareness of God, and his emotions are completely in tune with that awareness that he's got. Adam Azeh, this Adam, means when he has fixed up all of his deeds and all of the things that he does and his personality, this Adam that has reached the perfection of man, nevertheless, he can still have in the external, in his skin, this level of, his skin, which is the lowest level of humanity that he has. Every creation, as far as I know, has some sort of skin to it. It could be that the person, even though he has reached the ultimate level of perfection, Adam, but nevertheless, in his externals, there is a little bit of selfishness. The nolda simanim, and therefore will be a sign in his external flesh, not in his flesh, the skin on his flesh. And that's the idea of this Nagayim. So now we're looking at it a different way. Because Shebaruchti is spiritually in the service of God, this person has fixed up all of his deeds. Ubiru Rarani has removed all selfishness from his godliness. He's removed all selfishness from his soul. And everything that he does, he's removed all bad from his body and from his soul. Why is the person called a Metzora? Why? Only just a little tiny bit, psolet, a little bit of a dregs of selfishness at the end of his garments still has not been refined. Therefore, there is born in his flesh only external. We see stories like this. There's a lot of stories like this. For instance, the classic story is a person called Yeravam ben Nevat. Yeravam ben Nevat, it ended up, he was a tremendous, he's the example of a Jewish sinner. But how did it start off? How did he start off, Yeravam ben Nevat? He was like the perfect man. Yeravam ben Nevat. He learned Torah. When he would learn Torah, he learned Torah, it says with a big prophet. He learned Torah. And when he would learn Torah, fire would surround him. So that all of the other wise men of the generation were like nothing. They were like chaff, according to his greatness. And he was chosen to be the king of the 10 tribes. He was chosen by a prophet. Achia Shiloni chose him to be a prophet by God. Chosen to be a prophet. He was like a perfect human being. He had one small, little, tiny fault. And that was, he was a little bit of an egotist. A little bit of, and this caused a little tiny bit of jealousy. And that little tiny bit of jealousy that he had, a tiny bit, he acted perfectly, he spoke perfectly, he thought perfectly. Everything was according to the Torah, everything was according to the commandments. He had the love of God, the fear of God, he had everything. But a little tiny bit of egotism he had, a little tiny bit in the edge of his garments, so to speak. And that little tiny bit wrecked him totally. Little tiny bit of jealousy, he couldn't get rid of it. And because of that, it ended up that he made golden calves and he worshiped. And the story is unbelievable. He became one of the notorious evil people in the history of Judaism. He said he sinned and he made everybody else sin also. Convinced everybody. They thought such a great person, if he worships a golden calf, it must be okay. So it could be that a person has reached perfection almost. He's lacking this little bit of humility. Here we have King David, for instance. He was the perfection, and there were other people that were trying to kill him. He never said, how can this guy be better than me? What are you talking about? He is nothing compared to me. He doesn't reach the ankles. I'm the greatest. There's no one like me. King David really was the greatest, but he never said that. He just said, why are they trying to kill me? God, please help me. He said, I am just a worm. I'm a nothing. Says, the level of Adam is not relevant that he should have any sort of egotism whatsoever. Everything was just feeling God, thinking the essence of God. His flesh, his veins, it's not even in the external of his flesh. Something which your flesh can change. You can get fatter, you can thinner. Ke'im la'ora, just in the skin, the external of this person, that's perfect person. Be'or basaro, guf as adam, ki yeh be'or basaro, when there will be in the external of his skin a little bit of bad. Hainu, she'ein ze davar regil. It's an unusual thing. Elamikra, it just happened to be. Hayotze megidor regil. This is a person that is a total tzaddik, a totally righteous person, and then it's only just a nega tzarat. It's just nega, means it just touches him. Hainu she'enyan abilti roy, the thing that's not good, it's not relevant to him. It just touches him from the outside, and it only touches him from the externals of his externals. So here on one hand, the Torah is like this. The Torah says, if you did all the sins in the world, God forbid, it could be that with one turn, you can clean yourself off. It doesn't mean that you're clean, but it means you get a clean slate, right? It doesn't take away your free will. You can still go back and do bad things, but at least if you say, God, I'm really sorry, then God forgives you. God forgives you the past. You're not punished for the past. I mean, if you steal money or something, like you kill somebody, so you have to do restitution. You can't just steal money and say, I'm sorry, God, and then steal money and say, oh, I'm sorry, God. You have to fix up the physical world if you did something bad in the physical world. But nevertheless, a person can really work on himself and he can become perfect. Perfect according to what God wants. He never steals. He never lies. He never cheats. He never thinks bad about other people. He never is vituperous or he wants to take revenge. Never, none of these. He doesn't desire things of other people. Wonderful, right? If the person can be the worst of the worst and he says, I'm sorry, God forgives him. On the other hand, he can be the best of the best, the highest of the highest, the greatest of the greatest. But he's got a little bit of bad. That little bit of bad can wreck the whole thing. Wreck the whole thing. Which we see. I mean, you see a person, let's say he's the president of the United States, right? President of the United States. And he does, something on television. I remember there's a famous thing, Lyndon Johnson, who was the president. I was just a kid. And they showed him picking up his dog. He had a dog picking him up by his ears, picked up the dog by his ears, right? His what is it? His crew, what are they? The word just skipped my mind. Anyway, they made sure that the media always painted him in the best light possible. He was the greatest. He was the best. He was he was such a wonderful person. But somebody caught him picking up his dog by his ears. Ooh, all of a sudden, everybody's opinion changed. This is an evil person. This is a bad. Look what he did to his dog. His dog, his whole crew had to work for weeks in order to erase this bad little thing that he did. I mean, the fact is he was a terrible person. The fact is he was a really not a nice person at all. But they painted him, right? His advertising committee, whatever they're called, they painted him as the great person. Little tiny bad thing wrecked the whole thing. And the same thing, you have a person that's supposed to be the biggest tzaddik in the world, the greatest, and they catch him taking a little bit of money on the side. Oh, that's it. You're finished. Right? You're finished. On the other hand, the person could be the worst of the worst, tremendous. But before they take him to the electric chair, he says, I regret everything I've done. I'm really, truly sorry. And I deserve all the punishment they get. Oh, this is a bad. Look, you see that he really repented in the end, right? So on one hand, Judaism demands perfection. And on the other hand, perfection is very easily achieved. The problem is perfection can be easily achieved, but not for long. That's the thing, not for long. A person can repent, but his nature takes him back to what's... Okay, so here we're talking about perfection, reaching true perfection. And true perfection is in the ability of everyone. And in fact, if a Jew does not reach true perfection, everything is fixed up, but there's a little bit of bad, that's called Metzora. And like it adds on in Lakuti Torah, that also the Negayim, it says over there that really the fact is that these blemishes, this impurity and defilement that he has on the outside of his skin, they really come from a very, very high source. It shows you that God cares. That God cares about what you do. The person has a little bit of imperfection, God doesn't let you live with it. Got to take care of it. She'enu nikra tameh ad sheyikra'enu a kohen tameh. It says that you're not impure. You have all the signs, right? You're a big Torah scholar, and you look at your skin, or you look at your friend's skin. He comes to your house, and he says, "Tell me, that's leprosy? That's called leprosy. Get away from me." He says, "No, I don't have to get away from you." Why not? Because only when the Kohen, there has to be a Kohen that comes. Kohen is the name of priest. Priest is sort of like a, it's been given the word Kohen a bad reputation. When the priest comes, the Kohen comes, and he says, "This is impure," then the person is impure. Before, he's not impure. Before Keshadayin Lo Kora, if the Kohen does not say this person is impure, then they're not impure at all. He has all the signs. Even more, it shows that they're very high, tremendously lights and revelations of God. But it's just what? It's so severe, it's so exact of holiness, then therefore it shines in his skin. It shows that God is being very exact with you. God really cares about every little detail of your life. Therefore, the sign, but it's not impure yet. It's a sign of impurity. When does it actually become pure? When the Kohen comes and he says that is impure. In fact, there's even another law, a weird law, that even if the Kohen happens to be that he's not so smart, Kohen is not such a smart person, he wasn't able to learn, and he doesn't know anything, right? He doesn't know anything, right? But he brings together with him a scholar. And the Kohen says, "What do you think?" And the scholar says, "My friend, this is impure." And the Kohen says, "So what am I supposed to do?" He says, "You don't know what to do? I don't know what to do." So until the Kohen says the words impure, the man is pure. All the signs are there, all the logic is there, everything is there, but the Kohen has to say these words. What does it show? That the whole thing doesn't make any sense. It's coming from some tremendously high source of godliness that makes no sense whatsoever. The Kohen says, "Okay, so I have to say impure, impure. That's it. Get him out of the house. Everything in the house is impure, right? Therefore, you have to take him out before the house. And everything in the house is pure. It's like a dead body." As soon as he says those words. So we see that it makes no sense, this whole thing of leprosy. It's just a sign that God cares and he wants everyone to fix themselves up. Yesh Lomo, we can say that, and what do you mean fix yourself up? To rid yourself of any ulterior motives, to rid yourself of any self-bribery that enables you, that, how do you say, disables you from seeing the truth. Yesh Lomo, we can say that these two things, that on one hand, the Negayim, they are only just external at the end of your garments, just outside of your skin, that have not been yet refined. And simultaneously, they are sign of something very, very high lights of God, that God is showing that he cares. Apparently, these are two opposite things. On one hand, it says they're very external and they're very bad, a little bit of bad externality that you have. And on the other hand, it shows something very good that God really cares about you. It seems to be opposite. But the fact is they depend one on the other. Very basic principle of Judaism. God cares about you, individual. since the Negoyim, they are very, very high things, tremendously high lights of godliness. Therefore, when there comes from this something which is not good, by means of yanika techitzonim, because of your own selfishness, free will you're always going to have. So you can always choose the easy way out. Harizeh rak inyan chitzoni shenogea bebechinas atachtona. This is only external, and it deals only with the lowest aspects of your garments. Therefore, the way to fix this up, refining, how do you fix up the little impurities that you have in your self? And by the way, when a person has impurities, you don't see it. Because it's you, it's yourself. Right? It's not like you can look in the mirror and you say, "Oh, I got a pimple over here. Oh, I got my tooth is out. It's just something's wrong." Right? My face is dirty. It's not that you can see it. It affects your eyes themselves, so that what you see is your own perfection. I'm perfect. If you look at yourself in God's eyes, then you can see imperfections. But if you take God out of the picture, then the jails are filled with criminals that they think that they're 100% okay. Murderers, thieves, the worst type of people, right? But they justify everything they do. I'm okay. I don't see anything bad. Right? As soon as they say King Solomon was so wise, he was even wiser than a fool. What does that mean? A true fool is a person that thinks he's smarter than everybody else. A fool, he can't see his own foolishness. He can't see his own imperfections. That's part of his foolishness. Right? A thief doesn't think he's doing anything wrong. He doesn't want people to steal from him. Doesn't steal. It says a fool thinks he's smarter than everybody else. It says, but King Solomon was so smart that a fool would say, "Listen, I'm smarter than everybody else, but I have to admit I'm not smarter than King Solomon." That's something else, right? King Solomon. Because a person cannot see his own imperfections until all of a sudden King Solomon comes. Then all of a sudden the fools can admit, okay, maybe I'm not as smart as I thought. The same thing is also, if you look at yourself from your own eyes, you don't see anything wrong. But if you look at it from God's perspective, then suddenly you realize that there's impurities that you have to fix up. This is not a new thing. This is only by revealing the true nature, the essence of what these blemishes are, this impurity. It's really tremendously high lights of God. It's showing that God cares about you and he's showing you what perfection really is. And you don't have it, but you can have it. It's accessible to you. Kamarumas, that's the idea of Zotiyen Torah Metzora, that this will be the law of the Metzora, the leper, on the day that he becomes pure. Pure is by means of Yom, B'Yom, on the day. When, as soon as you see things in a clear light of God, or V'Giloi, like it says, V'Yikra Elokim La'or Yom, like it says that God called to light day. Hainu, Giloi Orot Elyonim, by revealing high lights, awareness, intellect, consciousness of what God really is, how much God really cares about this world and the details of the world. That's the true topic of Negoyim. And therefore there's negated all the bad things, even external alone. So you want to be perfect? The person says, "No, I don't want to be perfect." He says, "Okay, you're making a big mistake." Because perfection in this case essentially means true happiness. True happiness. What does it mean, true happiness? You put yourself into God's hands. God is okay, right? God does all these wonderful things. Like we said, he creates all these bugs and all these animals and all this, and each one has a nervous system, and God knows what he's doing. If you connect yourself to yourself, you don't create anything. You're not creating anything. You're creating a bug, a nervous system. You're not creating anything, right? No, but I'm the boss. I can call all the shots. I know what's going on. I know what's the best. I know what this. Okay, you want to do it. That's called Negayim. That means that you're blemished. Put yourself totally in the hands of the Creator, then That's a true man. That's what it's called, really a true Adam. Adam. We see that man, God created man, first man, is that he was perfect, almost. He had a little tiny imperfection that the snake knew how to play through this through his wife, etc. But nevertheless, it was there. And the same imperfection that Adam had, we have it too, says the Rebbe, but it's an imperfection. It's not proper. It's like a person he lives at home with his mother. His mother says, "Oh, you're the smartest, you're the greatest, you're the strongest, you're this." And then he goes out and he tries to get a job, and they say, "Have you got any qualifications?" My mother, she says, "I'm the greatest, I'm the smartest, I'm the this." Okay, so work for her. But you want to work, you have to have qualifications. You have to go to university. You have to. It's like there's some places, I think in America, that they lower the qualifications to be a doctor, for instance. So they lower the qualifications because there's poor people and there's people that don't have high IQs. Why should people that don't have high IQs be prevented from being a doctor? So they let these people go and they make the courses easy and the tests are easy. And the guy comes out and he's a doctor. He doesn't know what he's doing. Right? He doesn't know what he's doing, but he's a doctor and he can be the head of the department. And he's got a degree, right, that he graduated from, Harvard Medical School or whatever it is. I don't know if Harvard does it, but just for example, but he got through on the easy route, what they call it, the easy route. So it ends up that he's got all these imperfections, but he doesn't know it. He doesn't know he has the imperfections. Well, that's terrible. It's bad for him. It's bad for the world. It's bad for the people that he works with, that he treats. So perfection is a good thing, that you can be who you really are and take away all the selfishness and all the. So what God is saying, that everyone in the world can be perfect. What does it mean perfect? Without being sick, without having blemishes, without having your selfishness, without being, how do you say, bribable. Let's explain this. How can we really refine ourselves totally, that we can be totally devoted to the truth and live with the truth easily, constantly? How? This and much more we will discuss tomorrow. Well, let's do the Yom Yom.